Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard, live with you in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Active show coming up over the next 3 hours. Lots of guests, including Wes Reynolds and Will Hill on the NFL and the Pro Football Betting Guide that was released this week. Paul Stone, Best Bets Conference USA in college football coming up in an hour. Jeff Sherman behind the counter, a team that he likes in the East a lot in the NBA. And how about this? George Shea, Paulie, I'll call him the greatest hype man I've ever seen.
Ooh.
Right? Major League Eating tomorrow on the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Can Joey Chestnut get it back to like 70 hot dogs? Took the year off last year. He's had a couple of down years in a row going in before he took the year off last year, or they said no thanks because you're with the competition.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I read he preps and writes down like 20, 30 pages of notes for all his intros when he gets ready for tomorrow.
Huh.
He's a legend.
I'll buy it. He did the Circa opening out here back in
great.
2020.
Yeah, he's available. You can hire him, yes.
Sure. He was outstanding.
Yep.
We'll also get into today's Major League Baseball card, one of which I think Cleveland starting pitcher Luis Ortiz was supposed to be on the card today. That's not happening. And how about this? We had David Pertamon from ESPN 2 days ago, and we were talking about the Malik Beasley situation in the NBA. He's under investigation, doesn't look good for him at all, and some games are in question that he played in, and props, et cetera, et cetera. And I asked David Pertam, fast forward 1 year, like how many times are we going to have you on, or when's the next time that we're going to have you on to talk about something like this with a pro player in any sport being under investigation for some betting irregularities? 2 days later, Paulie. 2 days later.
Like he knew. That's right.
He said at the end, when I asked him that question, he goes, my guess is I'll be on way before then. So Jeff Passan's all over this. Pertam with a write-up on the story as well.
I think Rosenthal broke it.
Did he?
I believe so, yeah. I believe Passan gave the tip to, gave the heads up. Congratulations to Rosenthal.
Okay. So Ortiz, under investigation for gambling. He was placed on paid leave by Major League Baseball earlier today amid the investigation into activities. And what is under the microscope this time, 2 very specific pitches. And do you follow John Boy? You've seen John Boy. You're aware of what they are.
He was all over the Astros scandal.
I tweeted this out. If you don't know and you're unaware what John Boy is, Paulie's exactly right. He was the first person who noticed the trash, the scandal with the Astros back in 2017. Like, this doesn't feel right. Like, why are we banging on trash cans and then they know what pitch is coming? So he's the one who broke that. They're incredible with what they do. He already tweeted out the 2 pitches in question here from Ortiz. I retweeted it as well. It came, think about this, as Passan tweeted out, in a typical Major League Baseball season, more than 700,000 pitches are thrown. 2 from Ortiz had unusual gambling action on them. One was June 15th against Seattle. The other, June 17th against the Cardinals. In both the bottom of the second inning against the Mariners and top of the third against the Cardinals, Ortiz threw a first pitch slider that was well outside the strike zone. The second pitch looked like 50 Cent throwing out the first pitch overall.
That one got a Bob Uecker type reaction line from the announcer, just a bit outside.
Right.
Yeah, it was bad. But this is, how obvious do you want to be? How stupid do you want to be? You want to sound the alarms. Hey, can I get down a significant amount of money, or I would like to bet a nice chunk of money or wager on first pitch of the top of the second or top of the third being ball or hits batsman. You want to sound the alarms. My God, it's incredible. It's like the people with the Porter stuff, right? And I pray to God these books didn't take anything significant on it.
Oh, my God.
And the flag bets were in Ohio, New York, and New Jersey with this. But the other thing that comes to mind is risk versus reward.
Right.
Where it's, you just had a guy a year ago banned for life for the Padres for betting on baseball. You saw what happened a while back with the umpire with that story. And then several guys have been betting on other sports, and they were suspended as well. But it reminds me of the documentary on Netflix, How to Rob a Bank, which is very good. The guy initially is doing this, and the first bank he robs, he gets away with like $14,000. Waving a gun around. He goes, what am I doing? I'm looking at 25 years to life for $14,000. This is ridiculous. Got to shoot for the stars here. But this to think you're a young guy and you're in cahoots, maybe allegedly with somebody here, and you could throw it all away and face a lifetime ban for what? And then you're just going to make it so obvious that of all the things to bet or to give someone a tip, it's going to be this, which is going to be just the alarms are going to go off when you come in. I want to bet this first pitch, top of the second inning, exacta type stuff.
So I have two scenarios in my head, one of which is the limits are so small in a market like this.
You'd hope.
That no kidding, that Ortiz is going to flush his career down the toilet to make pennies, right, compared to what he can make as a major league pitcher. Like, that's the hope here. But if it comes out that he is in cahoots, Paulie, as you said, with a group of people who are considered, quote, VIPs at various sports books in these states where they are flagged now, and books, because they're VIPs, they allow them to get down huge bets on markets like this, then the sports books have nobody to blame but themselves. And then they're going to say, well, we caught this stuff. Well, what are you doing offering VIP people huge bets on markets like this anyway? Because you're taking the chance that this could actually happen, much like the Jonte Porter story in the NBA going back a good year now, right? Because he was a nobody in the league, rarely played, and he teamed up with some VIPs who were able to get down monstrous bets on unders for all of his props. And with a guy getting limited playing time, it's going to be like, is he going to score over under 2.5 points? Like, how many minutes is a guy going to play in the game?
Yeah.
Let's get down 80,000 here and beyond that on his props, because I can get down on that because books think I'm a VIP. It's outrageous.
Yes. The other thing that comes to mind is the Al Leiter thing, which, remember, we were mocking and laughing at him.
Well, we'll play that in a second.
So, but that also comes to mind about this, of all the things you can bet too. But it's just a fiasco here. Now, the other thing was, on the heels of this, because we've had quite the week and quite the run, 2 days ago, Shams reported that Rozier has been cleared. I have a trusted source saying not so fast on that as well. So with Beasley, Rozier, and now this, it's not a good run for what's happening with scandals.
No, one right after another.
Yeah.
So you brought it up. This is Al Leiter going all the way back in 2018. For those who don't know, former Major League pitcher, was very, very good. He was in. We mocked him because what you're about to hear sounds completely preposterous beyond anybody's imagination. But this was Al Leiter in front of Congress back in 2018, pleading to not legalize sports betting.
Line that at the Borgata that lighters could follow a strike. That's a product that they may come up with. Benign enough, my buddy says, listen, just throw a ball. I'm not going to throw a damn game. And he throws a bet in Atlantic City, but we didn't know because there's no collaboration. What Brian was trying, what we're trying to allude to, with Sands and Ben Salem, or where's it, Bethlehem. Within 3-hour drive, you can make 5 different bets. If I was Borgata, if I was Atlantic City, I would be damn concerned making lines on this because there's no collaboration of other casinos. In a 4-hour drive, I could have my buddy make a $5,000 bet in Atlantic City, $5,000 in Philly, over in Ben Salem, go over to Yonkers, I don't know, go up to Mohegan Sun, and I got a $500,000 bet to throw a ball.
That was back in 2018. We laughed at him then. Think about that scenario. I'm going to make a 4-hour drive and put a $5,000 bet down on a ball or strike, and then I'm going to drive again 4 hours to make another bet. And at the end of the day, when I have my buddies doing this, the same thing. We're driving across state lines. We're going to make a 4-hour one-way trip, and we're going to have $500,000 on one. If it comes out, though, again, Paulie, that somehow somebody was able to get down a lot of money on this, it's their own fault.
That's right.
I mean, it's total nonsense.
That's right. You said something interesting, too. Mitch retweeted it, by the way. I thought the first pitch was innocuous.
So did I.
The second one's bad.
The second one's really bad.
So this VIP reputation, though, you could camouflage that, I guess. I mean, if you're known as someone who's just a degenerate or bets on anything and whether the girl around the corner is what type of color dress she's going to have on, that's one thing. Do you do this on a regular basis? But this is just this is a hard sell when you come up and you want anything significant on this particular bet. But you're right about blaming the sports books too, and it goes back to the Draymond Green and the Mikal Bridges stuff. When the people beat you and had the inside information that Green was just going to play the opening tip just to extend the streak and be out there with Steph Curry, Bridges just to extend the streak, and people coming in betting $3,000-$4,000 same game parlays on everything under, which they had the info, then you know something's up, and you know something's up here that here Ortiz is going to throw a ball to start the inning.
So I'll ask you a question
Yeah.
again then. We talked about this on Tuesday with Malik Beasley.
Okay.
When's the next time we're going to talk about another pro player getting in trouble? Will it happen before? Can we bet this? Will another pro player get in trouble or be under the microscope by the end of the month of July? We've had 2 in 1 week.
Yes.
We very well. I
know. I'm stunned
before
by this.
football season.
Okay, yeah. I'm stunned by this, though. I can't. It's one thing to be an NFL player and say, I didn't know I couldn't bet at the
In the
facility.
facility on a
right.
basketball game,
But
yeah.
this stuff, betting, what the guy did with the Padres, what's alleged with Beasley, the Porter stuff, I mean, this stuff's really nuts.
I cannot wait to see how big the bets were on this.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of the story.
I'm totally with you. Absolutely. Get our NFL guide. We'll give out picks and props coming up today with Will Hill and Wes Reynolds. Over 90 pages available now. Team previews, season win totals, player props, best bets, betting projections. Lock it in as part of our football special. 175 through the Super Bowl. Every pick, every host, every guest, the 24/7 video access, all the data and tools as well. Early bird pricing ends at the end of the month. Sign up today, get your copy. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get the guide, join the team. Incredible offer, 175 through the Super Bowl. VSiN.com/subscribe.
All right, it is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Huge show coming up. Wes Reynolds at the bottom of this hour on the NFL. Paul Stone, college football coming up in about 50 minutes. Up next, we'll dive into the Major League Baseball slate. We'll update the live betting number here in the Astros-Rockies game, a year-free report, and a look at K projections. How about 16 straight unders in this spot? I will give you the details next.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Good to have you on board. We're live in downtown Vegas. Circa Resort Casino is the spot in this hour. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll go over the best and worst ROI teams in Major League Baseball, some streaky teams with first fives. And bottom of the hour, VSiN host Will Hill on NFL Futures. Here, we head out to the Progressive Guest Line to talk some college football as friend of the show and professional sports bettor Paul Stone joins the program. Good afternoon, Paul. How are you today?
Oh, man, doing well, Mitch. We've got college football that counts next month, and looking forward to that. And just want to quickly give a shout out to all our veterans with tomorrow being the 4th of July. Certainly represents our nation's independence, but also serves as a reminder for those who have stood in harm's way and some made the ultimate sacrifice. So we thank those servicemen and women and their families.
I can't believe when you fast forward to next month, that week now, where college football begins, how many games we have throughout the entire week. It is absolutely littered with contests pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some really great games. I mean, first of all, you get Farmageddon over there in Dublin, Ireland on Saturday, August 23rd. And then the games kick up that Thursday, and don't have the schedule right in front of me.
There's a lot of
I'll tell
games.
you a big game. We've talked about it a little bit. A lot of games on that Thursday night, the 28th. And then on the 29th, man, there's a big game in Waco, Texas, Auburn at Baylor. And then, of course, Saturday's schedule having Texas going to Ohio State and LSU to Clemson and on. Just a great schedule the first week 0 and week 1.
Okay, here we go. Some of your recommendations in Conference USA this year. I'm looking at what happened with FIU last year. They were 3-5 in league play. They were 4-8 overall. They were 0-6 on the road. The win total is 5.5. Paul, what do you want to do with it?
I mean, looking at Florida International, Mitch, they lost a lot in the portal. They lost 7 players to Power 4 teams. And if the Power 4 comes calling at FIU, you can better believe those are their very best players. So they lost 7 of their players to Power 4 teams, 3 of those being first team All-Conference USA selections last year. So their roster really got diminished there. They've got Willie Simmons coming in. They've got a first-year head coach. This will be his first year there in Miami. FIU only 13-35 the last 4 years overall. And you mentioned their 4-8 record last year. They've actually only won 4 games in each of the past 3 seasons. So, looking at it from the other perspective, they obviously need 6 wins to go over. And I just think under the current conditions, man, it is really tough for me to see FIU clearing that 5.5 win total hurdle that they're facing there. I'm not going to get into each and every personnel loss, but they lose their top 2 receivers. Both of those guys going to Georgia Tech, and that includes Eric Rivers, who had almost 1,200 yards of receiving last year. And then defensively, they lose their top 8 tacklers, not all through the portal, but their top 8 tacklers from a year ago no longer in the program. One of those guys, linebacker Travian Barnes, he had 129 tackles last year, first team all-conference. He's off to Baylor of the Big 12. And then 4 other FIU defenders, in addition to Barnes, have departed for Power 4 destinations. That includes 3/4 of their starting secondary. So I just look at these personnel losses, and they are overwhelming. They got a first-year coach. They've only won 4 games in each of the past 3 seasons. I like FIU to go under 5.5 regular season wins, available -115 there at FanDuel.
Very good. How about an over now? And Tony Sanchez with New Mexico State. He was a longtime high school coach here with Bishop Gorman, took the UNLV job. He had the Fertitta brothers behind him and all that money. It didn't work out. So then he took over at New Mexico State, had a down year last year after what Jerry Kill did as well. What do you want to do with New Mexico State to win total 4.5?
I think Coach Sanchez would have done better if Diego Pavia would have stayed at New Mexico State.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of kidding
yes,
there.
Right.
But, when we're handicapping regular season win totals, obviously we're going to talk about a team's schedule, not only who they play, but where they play and when they play. All 3 of those things really important. And I really like New Mexico State's scheduling dynamics this year. They opened the season with home games against FCS Bryant. And then in week 2, they host Tulsa, one of the worst FBS teams in the entire 136-team structure. So they look like they're going to start out 2-0 against a schedule ranked by Phil Steele the 132nd toughest out of 136 teams. So not a very difficult schedule there. I look at their schedule as a whole. I make numbers on these games. Obviously, once we start getting game results, these numbers will start fluctuating. But as of today, I've got New Mexico State favored in 5 games and fairly short underdogs in 2 others. So they've got a lot of winnable games. Conference USA predictably kind of bunched up. Teams are clustered together, kind of difficult to make a case for one over the other. But I look at New Mexico State, looking at my power ratings and a couple of other guys that I reference, and New Mexico State has a similar power rating to these 3 teams, Missouri State, Kennesaw State, and Middle Tennessee State. Their power ratings all about the same. New Mexico State hosts all 3 of those teams. So they get Missouri State, Kennesaw State, and Middle Tennessee there in Las Cruces. New Mexico State figures to be favored by a field goal or more in those 3 games. Certainly their roster plays a role in this, and I really like their upgrade at the quarterback position. This is a crazy stat. But last year, New Mexico State played 4 different quarterbacks that threw at least 18 passes on the year. So they kind of had musical chairs at the quarterback position. 4 guys threw 18 passes or more. None of them completed 47% of their passes. So they were abysmal in the passing game, to put it mildly. They're going to have an upgraded quarterback this year. I really like this guy, Fresno State, Montana transfer Logan Fife. A guy who started 14 games at those 2 schools over the course of his career. Not a real dual threat guy, but he can run it a little bit. Like Fife, top 2 receivers for New Mexico State back in the fold as well. So we'll have his top 2 targets back. I think New Mexico State's going to win 5 or more games. I like them to go over their total of 4.5 regular season wins, -132 there at FanDuel.
Very good. Paul Stone, our guest, professional sports bettor. He's on the Progressive Guest Line talking about best bets in Conference USA. Which team did you bet to win it outright then, Paul?
With the roster turnover in Conference USA, and we've talked about it some, I mean, these teams, so-called group of 5 conferences are just getting raided by the Power Four as they lose their best players from year to year. And with the roster turnover, it makes it difficult picking a league winner. Liberty, I think they're the deserved favorite, but they lost their quarterback, Caden Salter, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the entire nation. He's off to Colorado with the Big 12. The best price I see on Liberty, plus 150. That's just too short of a price. The price simply isn't right. So I went one team down the board and looked at the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And looking at Western Kentucky, first of all, the thing that kind of jumps out at you is the fact they lost a lot of personnel as well. They lost their starting quarterback, their leading receiver, their leading rusher, their top 4 receivers, lost several starting offensive linemen. But despite those losses, they also added some key pieces, and that certainly starts with their new quarterback, Maverick McIver, a guy who transfers in from Abilene Christian University. He threw for over 8,000 yards in 4 years there at ACU. If you remember that game last year, the season opener, they went to Lubbock and played Texas Tech in a back-and-forth game. Texas Tech survived that game, just a single overtime. Texas Tech 52, Abilene Christian 51. Maverick McIver in that game threw for 506 yards. So this guy can sling that football a little bit. If you go back a ways, his dad, Rick McIver, starting quarterback at the University of Texas back in the early 80s. But I like the addition of McIver at quarterback. They also bring in a top receiver from the FCS level, that being Matthew Henry of Western Illinois. He's a Dade County guy from Miami, Florida. Last time I checked, they produced some pretty good football players down there, and I think Henry is one of those. He had 64 catches for 1,211 yards last year. So I like that potential McIver to Henry connection there. And then they also return their left tackle, Marshall Jackson. He's an all-conference selection last year, veteran guy, be protecting McIver's blind side. I like Western Kentucky to win Conference USA. I'm seeing plus 400 at both FanDuel and BetMGM.
90 seconds, sir. This is one of the most creative props I've seen. It's at BetMGM. Total Conference USA teams to win 6+ regular season games. You think it's mispriced. What did you do?
I do. BetMGM, first of all, they operate in 20 states in the District of Columbia. They do operate in Nevada. So when you're out to sign up for one of the contests, if you don't have it in your state, you'll be able to find this prop then. But Conference USA, the number of teams to win 6+ regular season games, the total of teams, 5.5. The over, heavily juiced to the over, minus 250, under 5.5 Conference USA teams to win 6 games at plus 200. And I just look at this league, and first of all, half of the teams in the league, in my opinion, I'm looking at this, first of all, from a conference game standpoint. Half of the league, or 6 teams, are going to go 4-4 or better. And then of those 6, they're all going to have to win. The 4-4 teams are going to have to win 2 of their 4 conference games, non-conference games, rather. And I just don't think they're going to get there. These teams got to play some really tough non-conference opponents. You can look at the schedule, the type of teams they play. Last year they had 10 teams in the league. The year before that, they had 9. They now have 12 with the addition of Missouri State and Delaware. But they've only had 4 teams win 6 games or more in the last 2 years. I don't think they're getting to 6 from 4. I like under 5.5 Conference USA teams to win 6 games or more at plus 200 at BetMGM.
You're the man. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Thank you, guys.
There you go. Paul Stone, MLB ROI, next.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Fun hour on tap in 15 minutes. We'll get into tonight's Major League Baseball card. A lot of bets to consider there. Bottom of the hour, George Shea on the program.
Yeah.
I think the best hype man in the world.
Damn right.
Nathan's annual hot dog contest is tomorrow, and he'll join the program. And now we go across town, head out to the Progressive guest line as Jeff Sherman joins the program. He is the VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate. Jeff, good afternoon. Happy July 4th weekend. How are you today?
Thanks, you guys too. Doing great. Just trying to stay out of the rain out here.
We've been inside the casino for a while. Is it coming down again like cats and dogs?
Yeah, it's pretty hard today, pouring a bit.
Wow. Okay, let's start here. This week, correct me if I'm wrong in this, but July 1st over at your sports book was the day where customers could come in and sign up for your contest. The Super Contest, now $1,500, a $5,000 Survivor contest, and a contest that people have been yearning about for years here in town, or maybe even beyond, is a well-done college football contest. Now that we're on July 3rd, how has that been received so far?
Well, the college one's been received the best. We thought there'd be a few signups in the main Super Contest, which there were, but college, I guarantee, will have more college entries than we will Super Contest Classic entries this year, just because there's many pro contests around town. This one's pretty unique, and it's 7 selections rather than 5 like the NFL one is. And we do the entire college card of regular games, no extra games, anything like that, but the regular games starting Thursday night. So it'll be many games to choose from, a good selection there, and I think it's going to be very well received this season.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Get over there. $5,000 for the Survivor, $1,500 for the Super Contest. They upped that, $500, and then the college contest as well at $500 entry fee as well. Your reaction to what the Milwaukee Bucks did with the flurry of moves and the big stretch with Lillard, then to get Turner. I think it would hurt if I'm a member of that organization, considering the hoops I had to go through, the creativity I showed, and at one book they were still the 8th choice to win the East. One book tied for 6th. What'd you make of what Milwaukee did?
I was shocked. I didn't see that coming from anywhere. And the method that they did it now, they basically have 5 years of a stretch contract. So the acquisition of Turner is costing them $50 million a year against the cap. That's a bit much to stomach if you think that's the move that is going to convince Giannis. It just sounds like desperation, and it's surprising. Now, I did go from 80 to 60 to 1. I like Miles Turner, and I think it's an upgrade from what they had, but not enough to be a large move to make him a contender in the East.
Okay. How about the Lillard perspective? At the end of the year, if he hooks on, assuming if he can play at the end of the year and come back, what if I put him on a Minnesota or somebody like that? Will it move the needle for you?
Well, I think personally that he ought to take this entire year to rehab, choose his place, take his time doing that, and come back the following season. He's not like Halliburton or he's in his 20s.
True.
He's up there. I think he's going to need some more recovery, and if I were him, I wouldn't rush it. You don't want to re-injure this thing. I think he might push for the end of the year, but I think he'd be benefited most by taking this year, rehab, assess the situation next summer, and then join onto a team.
Okay. And he gets all that money to rehab in Portland as well. He gets all the big payday from Milwaukee. How about the biggest movers in your book, what you did with the Houston Rockets? They get Finney Smith, they get Durant. I don't know about the Capella move, but you had Houston the second choice to win the title. How high were you on the Rockets, and what are you at now?
Well, we're aggressive when we open these numbers at 14 to 1, expecting them to make some moves. And, the one thing that they lacked last year was a finisher, and they got that in Durant. So, when you started to see Durant on the list, Houston being one of the teams, I went to 12 to 1. And then made the adjustment down to where we sit at 8 to 1 after the collection of players that they have. And you have to like what they did, what Denver did. Oak City got taken to 7 games in 2 series, and those 2 teams really can give them a tough go next season.
So as the chaos is happening in the NBA offseason, and numbers are moving, bets are coming in, and you guys take a lot of sharp money over at the Westgate as well. Where did you see some respected money come either to win the East or the West next year?
Well, the main one that I saw was the Hawks at 60 to 1 for the East. That was as Porzingis was getting traded. And that was the first one we saw. Now they've settled down to 9 to 1 because they made some additional transactions on top of that. So that's been one, and you've seen the largest move downward on the Atlanta Hawks. We've seen a little bit on Denver. You could have had them 16 to 1 on Monday. Now I've got them 8 to 1, the same as I do at Houston. So you had opportunities there, but most of the sharp bettors were on Atlanta.
Okay, and were you personally protecting against the 76ers or trying to have a lower number than other books because you think, and you like them potentially next year, you think there's an angle here where All these other teams, there's going to be a problem, but if they stay healthy, there's no reason why the Sixers can't come out of that conference?
Well, I do. I have the lowest price on them because I think it's, low risk, high reward with that team. And if, it all hinges upon Embiid. But with what Daryl Morey said, he expects him ready for training camp. And I understand he's going to miss some games throughout the year. I'm not saying to go out and bet him for MVP, but if they can get to the end of the season and he's healthy going into the playoffs, they have as much, if not more talent than any team in the East. And a healthy Sixer team can easily come out of the Eastern Conference. So I've already played them myself at 40-1 and then 12-1 for the East. And I'm dealing them lower than other books just because I think there's a lot of potential with them.
This is wild, right? From a bookmaking standpoint and a fan standpoint, but the unknowns in the pecking order because there's so many significant injuries. I mean, what do you do with the Boston Celtics? I mentioned this yesterday. Brian Windhorst thinks they're going to be in the play-in game.
Yeah, I keep bumping them up to see who will bite, and I'm up to 50-1 on them. And if I don't see anything, I'll just keep inching them up until I get something because right now, Jaylen Brown and Derek White isn't a team that looks like they're going to garner a lot of support. They're going to need to make some additional moves if they want to compete for this year, and I don't know how much room they have.
You were aggressive on the San Antonio Spurs also, maybe expecting a trade that didn't happen. Are you still there with the Spurs and think they could be a factor in the West?
No, I thought they could have went for Giannis or Durant. And since they didn't and haven't done it at this time, I bumped them up to 40-1 when I had them, 16-1 when I opened them up. But it looks like so far they've been standing pat. They've only got Luke Cornett as their only transaction, and it looks like they're going on this slow growth process with their draft picks, Castle from last year, not dealing in any of the young players or draft picks at this time. Now, that can obviously change. I mean, things can change over the summer, and maybe behind the scenes they will go for Giannis. But right now, no one's looking to support him because they're a young team with teams above them in the West.
You're a Lakers guy. A couple of things here. One, did you like the addition yesterday of DeAndre Ayton? And number two, as we speak, reports are coming out that the Suns might buy out Bradley Beal. Would you want to see the Lakers pick him up?
Well, the Ayton signing, they had to.
Right.
There really wasn't much on the market. So, and you get him at a low cost, too. It was a surprise to everyone to see him bought out. He had an expensive contract, and there's no way that they could have gotten involved with a trade or anything like that. So getting him at the cost they did definitely worth the gamble because there aren't too many alternatives out there for needing to fill a position. Bradley Beal, horrendous contract. If he's bought out and any team can get him on the cheap, he can be serviceable off the bench. I wouldn't look him as a starter that can be a high contributor, but I think any team would take him on off of a buyout, but definitely not in trading for that contract.
And you were aggressive moving the Vegas Golden Knights as you thought Marner or someone was coming to Vegas, and how low you got on Vegas to win the Cup.
Yeah, Ed was sitting at 10-1, and when he started hearing the Marner rumors, he went down to 8-1, and then once it happened, we settled at 7-1 as co-favorites with Florida. And you can't help but like that move because that is the one thing that the Knights lacked in the playoffs, and we saw it in the Edmonton series, is that scoring punch. So, we think that they're right up there with the talent that they have, and we don't think they're done making moves too, because obviously Pietrangelo won't be coming back on defense, but I think they have some things to fill there. So we anticipate a few more transactions from them too.
I heard you on with VSiN Primetime the other day. You had a great note about you're already offering NBA MVP for next year, and you were offering a massive number on Oklahoma City and Jalen Williams. What did a bettor want to do at 400-1?
Yeah, we had a request for $1,000 at 400-1 on the good Jalen Williams. So it's a little bit too much for our appetite to have that much liability. So, we went ahead and gave him less on the wager, and the individual bet him at 400 and 300. So we currently sit at 200-1 on him.
Where would you move him if another huge bet came in today?
I'd just go from 200 to 100 because we already have mounting liability on him, and that's as long odds. Those awards are not something that we look to have dictate how our month might go.
About a minute left here. Yeah. I know it's early. The Open Championship's next week. Have you fired on anybody yet?
No, I've been sitting on the sideline so far because it is the Open Championship, and to me it's as wide open as can be. And I think I'm going to be waiting till the week of it. And I usually like to get involved in a lot of the European Tour players that are used to playing those conditions, the ones that have been playing well. You can see like Martin Kuro, he's done well recently coming off a win. Guys like that where a lot of people haven't heard of them, but you might be able to find them in 300-400 to 1 range. So I'm going to wait till probably the week of it. I haven't done anything yet.
Very good. You can follow Jeff on X. He is at Golf Odds, VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate Superbook. Jeff, thanks for the time today. Have a great 4th.
All right, thanks you guys too.
He was on the Progressive Guest Line. If you're just tuning in, he did say that he thinks the college contest is going to be bigger than a super contest this year.
That's something. Super contest goes a long ways back.
Well, I mean, I
But
think
this also shows you the appetite for a big-time college contest.
there's a chance where the college contest could be absolutely massive, you know?
Yeah.
MLB next, the single best hitting team against lefties over the last month, facing arguably the worst hitting team against lefties.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Love this event every single year. How do you not get excited for it? Because we're seeing the greats, Paulie.
Damn right.
The true great athletes of our generation. And we head out here to the Progressive Guest Line to talk about the annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest tomorrow as the best height man on earth. George Shea, Major League Eating, joins the program now. Sir, good afternoon. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and thank you for having me on.
You bet. Anytime. I want to get into Joey Chestnut to begin here. Like, can we expect yearly domination out of him again? Of course, was not in the contest last year. And you go back the previous 2 years, I have him eating 62 hot dogs in 2023 and 63 hot dogs in 2022, which was down from 76, the all-time record the previous year before that. So what is a realistic number you think that Joey can hit tomorrow?
Well, you know, it's very interesting. Both of those numbers are anomalies because in the earlier year when he did 62, there was a protester who literally came up during the contest, jumped onto the stage, and grabbed him. And you know, so then Joey and I had to fight off the protester, and so that became a big issue with him. Joey never dropped his dogs, but it slowed him down. So then on the other one, we had a massive rainstorm, washed out the contest. Hot dogs that had been cooked for the contest sat for an hour before they were eaten. So in both cases, you really can't look at that as his number. I think a more accurate number for him is 70 plus. I think Vegas odds right now have the over-under at 71. I think that's a little low, but you do never know. They may be looking at those 60s numbers and being misled because those are not indicative of his capacity.
Excellent breakdown. So you can make the case for over 71, and you think he can challenge his record of 76, and if the weather can play a role. Take us through that, please.
Yeah, well, I think, look, this is just me just giving my speculation. I don't have any particular insight into this beyond, watching this all the time. But I think that because of the situation that we had last year with the contract dispute, him not being there, he wanted to be there. We wanted him there, right? This is what he does. This is the contest that he's known for. I think he wants to come back and make a dramatic statement. And so I don't think he's going to be happy if he pops back and does 69, 70, 71, 72. He is going to break seeking to break the 76 number. But, there are many, many variables that can prevent that. When the hot dogs are cooked, right? There's a sort of little bit of variation there. And if they're cooked a little too early, it can really slow you down. So you cannot say, but I would be shocked if he ate fewer than 70 hot dogs.
Wow. 75 plus is plus 250, by the way, and 80 plus at DraftKings is 10 to 1.
Yeah, I can't, obviously as chair of of Major League Eating, I can't be advocating a bet, but I just think anyone who's really watched this is not thinking of Joey in the 60s. They're really not.
Okay, very good. Yeah. George, I have 75 degrees with about 63% humidity tomorrow. Does that sound accurate? If so, where does that rank in terms of optimum, weather conditions?
If it was 75, it would be truly optimum, right? Because there's not a ton of humidity today, so I assume tomorrow will be similar. I had heard 85, but I haven't been following the weather simply because you get into this sort of weather obsession, and because it's an outdoor event, and you start it just becomes an anxiety pit. So I stay away from the weather. But I had heard 85 and sunny.
He's minus 2,000 favorite. Is there anyone that can challenge or come close to Joey in your mind?
So to me, there are a couple scenarios in which Patrick Bertoletti or James Webb could come close to him. And keep in mind that Patrick Bertoletti did 58 last year, and that is up above that sort of 50 number where you have a handful of guys, and Miki Sudo as well at 51. Mm-hmm. So I think Patrick Bertoletti could up his numbers, and I think James Webb could be up in that range. What would have to happen, I think, is that Joey would have to have a stumble of some sort, right? And it is possible that he overamps himself and, I don't know, it just doesn't, goes too fast, gets out of rhythm, right? So the rhythm and his breathing, managing the hot dog. So while one hand is putting 2 hot dogs into the mouth, the other hand is grabbing and dunking. It's a critical component to just get that number of hot dogs down, irrespective of the capacity. You just have to have this rhythm going. So if somehow he gets too amped up and gets out of rhythm, that could slow him down. Would it slow him down from 73, say, for sake of argument, to 63? No, it wouldn't. So Patrick would have to have a really good day, I think, to challenge him.
Nathan's Hot Dog Contest tomorrow. Watch it on ESPN. That's the take on the men. How about the ladies? Incredible job from Miki last year. Set the record, 51. She's 44.5. Can Miki break her own record?
I think she can, but I don't think it's easy. I think that she thinks 55 is a possibility. But once again, on all these things, like I'm picking up little pieces here and there, but there's no enormous sort of specific analysis into this. But I will say this: I think the odds of someone beating Miki are very low. It'd be very hard to call the number that she's going to eat, but she's not going. Once again, she is not going there to eat 49 hot dogs. So if all the circumstances are being equal, I think that she would be very close to her record, potentially breaking it. The problem is, as I said, it's not a disadvantage for one person against another, but if the hot dogs are, cooked, they have to cool, right? So you have to have all of these hot dogs out at the same time. They have to cool so they're not too hot. If the preparers prepare 10 minutes earlier, right, it actually has an effect. Certainly if you do 30 minutes earlier. This doesn't impact one versus the other, but it impacts the numbers. So all of those things are really impossible to predict.
Okay.
I'll just throw this out there for information purposes only, George. The combo between Joey and Miki here to eat is 118.5 at DraftKings.
118, so my math is bad. That's 70
Let's
and
say
50 is 130.
That'll get 70 and 50 will get the job done.
Oh, I got to tell you, I mean, I can't bet, but I got to tell you, I think I will say it this way to be a little cryptic. I think there's a very strong bet in that one.
Okay. How much time have you spent working on intros for tomorrow?
A lot, and I was just at rehearsal, but I do know them. But the issue for me is it's 10 minutes, 15 intros. I've memorized them. I have like little cue cards with a few keywords in case, you freeze or something or just get distracted. But I'm trying to do this thing with humor and language and intensity and drama, and you got to move quick. So, it's for me, that's my contest. When my contest is over, it's the 10-minute introductions. Then these guys have to do their work, right? So for me, when I'm done introducing Joey, it's kind of like, okay, I did my bit. Now they have to go work, though. Mm-hmm.
As co-founder of Major League Eating, the most impressive thing you've seen? Is it the dominance of Chestnut? Is it someone eating 50 Twinkies? And what has it been in all your years covering this and being a part of this most impressive thing you've seen?
So for me, watching Kobayashi break the record of 25 and 1/8 hot dogs with the number of 50 was shocking. But Joey beating Kobayashi was in 2007 was the most dramatic. For me, the most dramatic moment in any sports, and I was a big Knicks fan, so you're in Madison Square Garden, you're feeling that energy. But that was huge when Joey did that. He also broke his record and achieved 76 on the last bite on the last second in 2021. And that was extremely dramatic. But most sort of sticks in my mind. Bizarrely, I don't know why. Joey ate 144 hard-boiled eggs in 8 minutes, and Mickey ate 104. And somehow, to me, that just sticks in my mind.
Oh boy, that's nasty.
Well done.
What can you eat? By the way, what can you eat the most of in a short amount of time?
You know, I have a horrible sweets addiction, and my brother Rich, who's my partner, brought a babka for a brunch we were having, and I just sat and I over the course of 30 minutes ate an entire babka, which is in this case was a chocolate sweet cake. But I once tried hot dogs and buns against a reporter, and I'm embarrassed to say I only did 6, and I was trying. I was not trying. I was trying. He did 9, I did 6. And it's way harder than you think.
Well, that's why this is so impressive. Like the average person can't go out there and whack down more than 4, 5, 6, like you're talking about here.
Yeah, you always hear this from some guy, big guy. You know, I eat almost a whole pizza on Friday night when we get it, and that's okay. That's fair enough. But then they get up there and they'll do 12 hot dogs, or they'll do 9. They're not popping up there and doing 25, 30 hot dogs.
Sure. George, that was tremendous. Best of luck with the event tomorrow. Thanks so much for the time here on the eve of it. We appreciate that.
I always like being on with you guys, and I went out to Vegas a couple years ago and opened the Circa, and I just have a great warm spot in my heart. So I wish you all the best 4th of July.
Back at you. There you go. George Shea tomorrow emceeing the annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Good luck with your bets tonight.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.